subject that people just do not talk about in media or films or TV anymore, unless you're looking at evangelicals, TV stations, and priests, preachers who are going so far overboard that people just switch off, who are not interested in that and don't pay attention. I think the subtlety of putting it into things and debates of in film and so forth has been lost. You just don't have movies like that. So for me, it's like, well, when the dust settles, I mean, people are going to say this and that. I thought it was pretty unfortunate that Book of Eli couldn't beat Avatar at the box office in America this weekend. And I think that has a lot to do with the word of mouth of Avatar and the fact that now it's like a thing to do. People just go and watch Avatar now. It's like, if you haven't seen Avatar, you're like not cool. Everybody's got to have seen the movie. So I think that's what it's now become, which is fair enough. Like I said, I'm happy that Avatar is the big time movie and not Titanic. I mean, that's cool. But I would say this, that I think Book of Eli deserves a lot more. And I hope it gets a lot more praise that it has been getting. And I hope it makes a lot more money so that they will make more films like this. I'm not even saying it necessarily has to be about Christianity. It can be about any other religion. But I think making movies about religion in this way is interesting. And I think people shying away from the fact that, yeah, I mean, to a degree, America has a lot of Christianity involved in the country. So why people run away from the idea of debating Christianity is befuddling to me, because I'm like, well, we're not trying to tell people that convert people. In fact, whatever, even if you're putting out messages that, oh, my religion is good, whatever, fine. But you can at least talk about it. You can put it in movies as it affects so many lives. Let me see now. I mean, what else is there about Book of Eli? As far as the twist is concerned, the whole thing about Eli being blind and so on at the very end. I mean, it was cool. I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And it's good for the plot and all that sort of stuff. Because obviously the Gary Oldman character can't obviously read that Braille. And it was just interesting. But the problem for me is that the suspension of disbelief is stretched a little bit too far. Because I was like, man, this guy was walking around, like blind people, even if you're very aware of your surroundings and you're good at dealing with obstacles and so forth, you're going to bump into a few things. You're going to be feeling around a little bit. You're going to look like you're touching things to nowhere. This guy was just walking around. And even if you can argue that, oh, the directors were clever and they just didn't show you situations where he would look like he was blind. He was always just sitting down or walking in a straight line in the open. My thing is this. Are you trying to tell me nobody in the bar, nobody that he came across during that whole situation in the movie would have noticed that this guy cannot see? Come on. Let's be serious. Unless they're arguing that he was partially blind, like he was not completely blind, but he was blind enough that reading would be a problem. That, you'd have to tell me that that's the case for me to buy that. It's possible, because, there are people who, you can see images, like you can walk around relatively okay, but you definitely cannot read. So you'll definitely need Braille to read, but you can your sight is good enough to sort of fumble around. Fair enough, but I don't think that was the case. I think this guy's supposed to be blind. That was a problem. I mean, the fighting, people have argued that, oh, a blind guy, how could he fight like that? How could he shoot like that? I can stretch my imagination to those levels, that a blind guy, his senses are so keen that he'd be able to shoot and fight the way I can appreciate that as for the sake of a film. But the other stuff, like just general walking around, and Gary Oldman, as smart a guy as that guy seemed to be, wouldn't notice that this guy's blind? I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, look, I'll just say, look, I wholeheartedly recommend this movie. Very, very, very flawed. I mean, very flawed. Like, it, for me, I give the movie like 7 out of 10. 6.5, 6.5, and that might seem low. 6.57, yeah. It might seem a bit low considering what I've said, but the reason is that it's just the potential. What the movie actually is 6.57. Because I think that it deviated too much into the banal, just basic. the violence was too stylized. There was just too much stylization in so many elements when it didn't need to have that. That I was like, I mean, to a average layman watching this is just an action movie, which some guys would really like, but there's a lot of stuff in here that is being missed because of the way it's been presented. But that being said, like I said, the potential is there, and I definitely recommend all talkbackers to go out there and watch this movie, and definitely anybody else who's listening to this talkback, Merc Files here, it's definitely worth a watch. That's it. Bay out, Spielberg in.